Is the merchandise that I've just launched available outside of Australia, like this very nice beanie here that I've got on? The answer to your question, Bill, is of course it's available internationally. The two main depots that this merchandise ships out of is the USA as well as the UK. And that will depend on where you live as to where it ships from. So if you could buy yourself a beanie, a t-shirt, a trucker hat, a mug, whatever it is to support the channel, that would be fantastic. And if you are one of the people that have ordered already, a big thank you to you. You know who you all are. If you could send through a picture of you with your new merch, as well as the bike or bikes you own in the background, that would be fantastic, and I'll try and share them in the next Q&A video. The next question, and I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, is from Javier or Javier. I'm not really sure where you're located geographically, so apologies if I've butchered your name. But your comment basically goes like this: I can't believe that you're comparing a middleweight 800cc motorcycle with a little 450 small adventure bike. It just doesn't make sense. And especially in my video where I was considering a 1200cc adventure bike as well. And look, I get it. Not everyone thinks as exponentially outwards in all directions as I do. Some people are very linear in their thought process. But here's the crux of the thing that might help you grasp the concept. It's not about comparing apples to apples. I do that an awful lot. If you want to see the CF Moto versus the Himalayan, there's that video for you and countless other videos. The crux of the question is the value for money, not the type of bike you can get, but how much bike can you get for the money? Because a lot of people ask me, Solid, do I go for a small adventure bike? Do I go for a second-hand middleweight? It is actually a question on a lot of people's minds, and that might be strange for someone stuck in the apples to apples comparison. But when you think about it, how much bike can you get for your money, the value for money aspect of it, the question is it better to go with a second-hand middleweight or a brand new small adventure bike? That's the idea. It's not about comparing apples to apples. This is apples to oranges and deciding which flavor you really want to go with.
Yeah, of course.
I finally got myself down to the Adventure On store here in Perth, Western Australia, as I needed a set of bark busters. And I've got to say, Nelson and the guys at Adventure On store were fantastic, really helped me out. I got the sense that Nelson really cares about the adventure bike community and offering a good service. He's not just in it to make a quick dollar.
I got some news for you now that you're here. We're the new dealership for Kove.
Kove?
Went wrong.
That's amazing news.
Yeah.
Definitely sign me up for a test ride.
Yeah, 100%, man. So we're going to do a bit of an open day on the 1st of November.
Yes, you heard that right. Kove is actually coming to Australia and here to Western Australia. There'll be a big grand opening on November the 1st where they'll have a couple of Kove dirt bikes that you can poke and prod. Now, your big question, probably like mine, was when are we going to see the 450 Rally and the 800? So the answer to that is unofficial. It hasn't been 100% confirmed because both bikes are still getting ADR compliance, but they are getting it. Nelson's estimate is early next year. So super exciting news there. So if you're in Perth or Western Australia and you want to have a look at the brand new Kove dirt bikes and get down to a grand opening for the dealership, November 1st at Adventure On store in Midvale. And I spotted a beautiful AJP PR7 in the shop there, and I didn't actually know that they're actually a dealership for AJP now. So that's pretty fantastic news that we've got somewhere to go that we can get servicing and parts for the AJP PR7. And I'll throw up some footage now. Absolute weapon of a bike. In person is just as good as it looks, maybe even better. It's an absolute work of art if you're into the rally bike thing. Just been to the Adventure On store here in Midland to get some bark busters for the GS. So I've got them ordered and that should be on, and that's the last thing that stopped me from getting off-road. So now we're going to hit the highway and see how this beastie does on the open road touring a bit. I'll see you in a little while. Now this is an interesting question. KLR650, the new model with the EFI, or a Himalayan 450, which do you go for? Well, price-wise, the Himalayan's cheaper, Weight-wise, the Himalayan's lighter. Performance off-road, well, I've ridden the Gen 2 model, but I haven't ridden the Gen 3. The only difference is the EFI and the extra weight, fundamentally speaking. So I'd say they're fairly evenly matched when it comes to off-road riding as well. What I will say is if you are a beginner rider, the Himalayan is going to be far better, purely for the fact that it's a lot more user-friendly in that you can get your feet on the ground much easier than the KLR650. The other thing I would point out is that the Himalayan, in my opinion, is a better highway bike than the KLR650. KLR650 will do it all day long, will chew through a fair amount of oil doing so, and that 5-speed gearbox is also a limiting factor as well. And I find that the engine on the Himalayan is far more eager to spin up and is more revvy and has more of a road performance character to it above 5,000 RPM. Whereas the KLR650 has a really nice bottom end tractor factor, but as you start to really rev it out, it just gets noisier and more vibrations rather than producing more performance. It's not a bike meant to be spent in the high RPMs for long amounts of time. It's a dual sport at heart. It started out as a dual sport, even though it's morphed into an adventure bike. Now, as far as problems and reliability, everything there is to know about the KLR650 has already been discovered, and there is every kind of fix that you could imagine that you could probably do with some duct tape, a trip to your local hardware store, and a hammer if it gets complicated. They're very easy to work on and very easy to fix. It's hard to beat KLR650s as far as ease of working on, mated to reliability. They are fundamentally a very sound motorcycle. Jury's still out a little bit on the Himalayan 450. Early days seems to suggest that if you get a good one, they're very reliable, but Royal Enfield seem to be a little haphazard in the consistency of how they pump these bikes out at the factory. So some can come with some quirks that are usually easily identified early on under warranty. Fortunately for me, I've got a good egg straight out of the box. Gun to my head, personal choice, I'm taking the Himalayan 450. It feels a little bit lighter, even though they're both very top-heavy machines. But once you're underway, the Himalayan 450 feels a lot more manageable and easier to use in the dirt. As well as on the road, it's a lot more of an engaging ride. It's more flickable, more sure-footed in the corners as well, in my experience. And it also has an engine that is far more engaging to ride on the road, as well as being pretty useful off-road. The KLR has a better engine tuned for off-road riding in my opinion, but it loses out overall because it's just not a lot of fun on road, at least within the spectrum of motorcycles. It's not terrible, it's just not engaging. So for me, I think it's the Himalayan 450 wins out, but honestly, if you're trying to decide between both and you're kind of looking for that 200 kilo-ish do-it-all, slightly dual sporty adventure bike type thing, both are going to be fantastic options, and both I think are going to do you well with cheap fixes, easy, affordable accessories. You can't go wrong with either in my opinion, so good luck on the hunt. I also had the pleasure of meeting a couple of very long time subscribers. Here's two subscribers, Paul and Stu. They just come over from the eastern states. How long have you done? 6,000 kilometers?
6,000 Ks, yeah.
Stu on the Tiger, and you've got the beautiful V85
Yep.
Moto Guzzi, and we've just said hi and had a coffee and wonderful bikes, so very jealous of what they've done. So Paul and Stu, it was great to meet you both and talk all things motorcycle and share a coffee and talk life and motorcycles. It was fantastic to meet you. Cheers for reaching out. It's a really interesting question, Trevor, because this is something I'm actually considering right now at this very moment, because which of the bikes loses behind me out of the comparison series I will be moving on. And what I want to move on to is a skinny dual sport. And so I am trying to decide, and it is basically a 3-bike race at the moment. It is the CRF300L or maybe the Rally, the KLX300, particularly because of that fantastically upgraded suspension that I really want to see how good it is. And as well, just a curveball, the KLX230, because it's so affordable, pretty capable for what it is, but it does have softer suspension. So those are the 3 bikes I'm trying to figure it out. Now, obviously for me, the 300L would be a poor business decision. I've already been there and done that. I've made the content that I've wanted to make. Views-wise, the KLX300 is probably the best bet for me because it's the more flashy of the 3 bikes. It's more relevant. I think more people will want to know, particularly worldwide, what the KLX300 with the Australian spec suspension is. Is it going to be a game changer for the small displacement dual sport segment here in Australia? But I think it's definitely going to be a green motorcycle in my garage fairly soon. But for you, I think it's going to be flip a coin. What do you want? Do you want tractor factor and the best gear ratio spread on the dual sport market? Or do you want the KLX? If you're here in Australia, or even if you're overseas with the KLX300, the suspension is going to be superior to the 300, so you're going to save yourself a lot of money there. And it might be the more engaging and rev happy on the street with that top end performance. It's really splitting hairs at the end of the day, so probably you got to ask yourself, what do you look better in, red or green, and flip a coin? And there's lots of other interesting maybes as well to list off. I mean, I've still got to test ride the 390 Enduro R from KTM, and I've also got to get a leg over the DRZ 4S when it finally arrives here later in the year. I think fundamentally, if I was to be looking for one today, I didn't have the channel, I was just a regular bloke, never had either before. The questions I'd be asking myself is, which dealership to me is closer? Which dealership treats me with more respect and I have developed more of a rapport? And which dealership is going to be there for me and look after me post buying the motorcycle? Because they're all very nice and kind and treat you like a king or a queen when you enter and you're paying the big bucks for the motorcycle. But what are they like after the honeymoon period wears out? Are you in a country where one has a dominant ownership of the market? Are there more Kawasaki parts or more Honda parts? Are they cheaper or more expensive? Lots of stuff to consider on the back end as well. It's not just about the motorbike. Let me know in the comment section below what you would like to see if I was to get a skinny bike again, and what would offer you the most value content wise of all of those bikes. Chuck your thoughts down below. A few people have been wanting to know what I'm doing off-road wise with the F800GS. They're really keen to see how this bike goes off-road compared to my beloved little Himalayan 450 behind me. And it's been held up basically by just getting crash protection. So I've ordered myself some SW Motec crash guards that should be arriving next week, getting those fitted up by Mark at Dream Adventure Motorcycles, who you've seen before on this channel, and I really like his work, so looking forward to getting back there and seeing those fitted up. Next week, we'll be focusing back on the Himalayan and the 800GS, comparing how they go on the road. We're doing more of the adventure touring stuff. And until then, guys, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.